Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are joined by Jonathan Reynolds, the founder and CEO of Mindful Life, Mindful Work. This is a leadership development company based in California. Since 1997, Jonathan has trained extensively in the discipline of mindfulness, and his work with leaders emphasizes simple and practical ways to improve performance, efficiency, and workplace cultures by integrating mindfulness sensibilities. Mindful Life, Mindful Work provides services that address the intersection of self-awareness and team performance, optimizing efforts to result in more effective leadership, greater team alignment, real employee commitment, and a company culture deeply connected to its mission. Jonathan, welcome to Founders Future.
So much for having me, Ammar. It's great to be here.
I am super excited to dive into this. I always like to start from the beginning. So take us back to before you started your company. What was the motivation, the inspiration, and I guess what problems were you looking to solve in the market?
Even before that happened, I was going through a hard time personally, and my own suffering is ultimately what the seed of Mindful Life, Mindful Work was, and my own personal growth. And so, in going through that, discovered skills and practices that had served me personally very well and wanted to share them. Was really grateful for having found a sense of ease in my own life, and then saw a real need in the world, people looking for purpose and meaning. And this is about 25 years ago or so. And of course, now on the tail end of COVID, or hopefully the tail end of COVID, we are seeing that people are hungry for purpose and meaning, and they don't want to just go to a job and get a paycheck. Everybody needs to do what they need to do, but given the option, they're going to pick something that actually helps other people, has real meaning and personal change in their own life.
Yeah, I love that. There's probably somebody listening to this right now that's currently going through a personal challenge. Maybe they're in a rough patch in their life, who knows? But I'm curious for you, when you were going through that 25 years ago, before you started the company, and that was the kind of the seed, how did you navigate that? How were you able to use a difficult part of your life to strengthen you to come out the other side a stronger version of yourself?
It was really challenging. I went through things that might be called nervous breakdowns or midlife or crises, but too early and things like that. But really just a check-in with the soul and what did I want to do? And so I got very curious about things that I didn't know about. And at that time, I started to practice things like meditation and yoga, which were very foreign to me in my early 20s. And then just did an honest look in the mirror and said, "Oh, am I the person that I would want to be around? If I want to be around a certain sort of people that are making positive change in the world, if I look in the mirror, would they want to be around me?"
Yeah,
And I had to get really honest and say, "No, I want to become that person that is moves in those circles." So started to do a lot of personal growth work, a lot of self-introspection, a lot of self-care, and was really on a project of reorienting with my authenticity.
I love that. Am I the person that I would want to be around? That's a very powerful question. For the people that are listening that know nothing about your company, Mindful Life, Mindful Work, help us understand who is your ICP? Who do you love to work with? And then what are the different offers and services that you provide?
Thank you for the question. That's the best question to ask anybody who runs their own business, right? Talk about what you love to do. We're in a big growth change. So traditionally, we'd offered B2B work, coaching, consulting, training, assessment work. At times, bread and butter, sort of baseline stuff has been B2C, people in career transitions, people wanting to clarify their life and vision from a holistic perspective. So at a certain point in my career, I was trained as a psychotherapist. I like to say the work is therapeutic without being therapy.
Mm.
All good work, whether it's business or personal life, it's psychological. We're psychological beings. So ideally, somebody who's curious about this sort of robust, holistic approach. But over the last couple of years and since COVID, we also built out more robust events and B2C arms. We just launched a social media platform called Mindset Social, which is really to collect a community of people interested in this sort of approach, this mindful approach. We launched an online marketplace called Swell Marketplace, which is a place for creators of mindful, intentional, thoughtful stuff. We want to be the sort of go-to for when somebody wants to find that sort of thing. But then we also started offering events. We offer online summits. We just this morning actually announced our first Mindful Affinity trip, which will be destinations to beautiful places and really just community driven. We don't want to overwhelm people with scheduling. We want people to go and self-nurture and have the space to do. So that's just a start. Really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to promote world peace through mindful approaches and create a more mindful world. That's, I think, the way that everybody benefits.
I love that. So there's not one specific avatar of people that you would say, hey, this is the main person that we work with. Just kind of anybody that's interested in the holistic approach to life, it sounds like. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that's it. We tend, if anything, our brand is the word mindful. And so we're really looking for people that are interested in developing and growing and connecting with community that's interested in mindful learning, living, and working.
Yeah,
And then because whatever we do in our life, we do through the vehicle of our own operating system. And so if we work on the operating system, then all the things get enhanced.
got it. So just to recap, traditionally it was just B2B coaching consulting, then there was some B2C. Now you've got the social media, which is Mindset Social, and then you've got the online marketplace. And what's that called again?
Mind swell.
Mind Swell. And then you've obviously got the events, the online summits, and then destination trips as well, which can be therapeutic without being therapy. I like that line, by the way. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
nice.
What typically when I talk to business owners who have a whole suite of offerings, there's like one that's responsible for 80% of the business, so to speak. I'm curious if that's been your experience so far, and which is, I guess, the biggest revenue driver for you guys.
Traditionally, it's always been our services.
Okay.
A lot of these things are designed to be longer range passive revenue drivers, like the
Got it.
marketplace and eventually the social media, which is currently free and will be free hopefully for a decade or longer. But so traditionally, it's been services. Events are nice too because people pay for events and then the money's there, right? It's not
Yeah.
this amorphous sort of let's grow this possibility. No, these are real tangible revenue drivers. That said, we're seeing in the first couple of months of Mindset Social that just gathering people that are interested in the topic is a really great way to have them share with each other and connect with each other, but also to have a platform to announce the other stuff. It all feeds itself. It's every leg of the table helps every leg of the table.
Yeah, so they all intertwine in some way, shape, or form. Now, walk me through the services, the coaching consulting piece. What does that typically look like? If I come in, or first off, is it mainly businesses? Is it individuals? Is it a combination of both? And if I come in and I'm like, hey, Jonathan, let's start working together, what does a typical client engagement look like from start to finish?
Yeah, so traditionally, it depends on who the identified client is, like you said, either the company or the individual. A lot of the times we're found by senior leaders or people in companies that are having a hard time, either on the job performance front or career transition considerations, or they're
Mhm.
in a toxic culture and they just want to have an outboard support. And
Got
so a lot of times the identified client is an individual, but sometimes that's the beginning of a relationship to a small department or team, and then we end up going in. Sometimes a big company finds us and they want us to do a mindful sales training for their 300
Mm,
salespeople. So sometimes it's very specifically the company hires us. We're in a stage right now where we're developing something called Mind Dev, which is our
okay.
scalable coaching program. And that's really the thing we're pushing hardest on right now. And whenever you design something new, the challenge is the first year or two because you're building recognition. There's a lot of sort of psychoeducational, this is what it is, this is what it does. If we don't know or people haven't heard about the sales cycle, the first 7 times you say something, people barely even hear it. And it sounds redundant and annoying to say something 12 times, but by the time you say it 12 times and they see it, then your sales literally go from 30% to 65%. It just goes astronomical, but you got to be willing to say it 12 times in a way that's not annoying, provides value at each touch point, and to just stay top of mind, to stay in front of people. So that's where we're at with Mind Dev right now. And Mind Dev is going to be our thing of the future, I think. But we still do all sorts of projects.
I love that. So walk me through that. Mind dev, what's the focus going to be there in terms of who you want to be helping? And what does the structure look like? Is it like 3 to 6 months? Is it coursework plus group coaching calls? What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah, MindDev is a scalable coaching program, meaning that we want to bring in between 50 and 1,000 coaches into a large company. So we've just started to assemble what we're phrasing as mindfulness informed coaches. And so people that have some personal relationship to self-awareness work or mindfulness of some kind. And those coaches, because good coaching ultimately is good presence, because coaches are there to ask questions and listen and to listen for things that the coachee doesn't hear. So
Mm,
we see this mindful approach as really valuable. And it's really valuable for leadership because leaders don't need
yeah,
to be smarter, they need to be better relationship people. That's
yeah,
what makes a good leader. And so the goal of that is to get into conversations with companies that want to make some sort of cultural change. Ultimately, it's a cultural change initiative. Yes, you're developing people, but when you develop people in a system or a collective, you're really nudging the culture. And part of the problem we're seeing in companies is that large companies had no strategy around culture. They just kept growing because the money was coming in and just hoped that it would work out. And sometimes it did. And now we're seeing that it doesn't if you don't actually strategize the difference between working in the business and working on the business,
yeah.
having some strategy. And so we come in and we start to make gentle tweaks that are non-threatening and that helps steer the ship in a little more holistic and really human-centric way, because that's why people are leaving companies, because they want to feel like people. And if they don't feel like people, they're not staying around.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. No, that's a very great point. So is there going to be structure to it in terms of 3 month, 6 month programs or
Yeah,
like
sorry, I missed that piece. Yeah, yeah.
years?
Traditionally, my individual coaching work has always been a 3 month because when I did it for less, at the end of 1 month, one of two things would happen. The client would either say, I don't see the results I want to see, and end the coaching. That's a failure of the coaching. The other thing that would happen is at the end of the month, they'd say, wow, great results, I'm leaving. That's
Yeah.
also a failure because we're there to embed habits that last a career and a lifetime. We're not just there to feel better and
Mm,
to fix the topical problem. We want to get deeper than that. We want to see people actually step into their power. So a lot of what our work has been with women leaders because they're
got
chronically
it.
undervalued.
Yeah.
And so yeah, usually a minimum of 3 months. If it's a larger project, we want to go a minimum of 6 months.
Got it.
Ideally, these are annual contracts because, again, if we're coaching 1,000 leaders, there's got to be metrics, there's got to be measurements, there's got to be assessments of return on investment, and all sorts of stuff needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. Walk me through. I like first off that you built it with scale in mind because we talk to a lot of coaches, we talk to a lot of consultants, and they don't package it effectively to be able to grow and truly have a massive impact. It's very difficult to have the impact that you want to have without having a scalable fulfillment model, which it sounds like you guys are developing and working on actively. Walk me through how do you generate leads for your services? So for the people that are interested in your coaching and consulting, what are the lead generation mechanisms for your company look like?
Yeah, I just want to mention something about scale really quick because you've touched on something really important. If you're in an engagement and don't have at the end of the engagement something else to offer, the hardest thing is to get the client in the first place. So once you have the client, if you don't have the next offer, if you don't have the scale up, whether it's
Yeah,
a deepening of services or whether it's, oh, now I'll coach your team or something like that, all that work you did to get that client just walks out the door and you're starting over fresh with somebody else who's going to end. If every engagement has a clear ending and not the possibility for scale, then it's going to be a really long career and you're going to spend all your time filling pipeline. And pipeline has to be filled anyway, but yeah, don't do that to yourself is basically what I'm saying. As far as our lead generation work, LinkedIn has been, because all of our work tends to be remote. So LinkedIn is tops on the list. Years ago, they soft released something called ProFinder, which no longer exists to my chagrin. And the reason I say that is ProFinder was the easiest thing for a coach. I get 60 requests a day. I mean, that's unheard of. You get 60 a year and you're super excited, like 60 a day. And so they rolled that into now on LinkedIn, what sort of looks like if you're a service provider, you can have a service link or tab on your profile, but it's nowhere near what it once was. I used to get emails every time somebody submitted a request, and I get 60 a day. And The challenge was to have a workaround so I could just cut and paste responses because they were coming so fast.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn's really great. We use Sales Navigator to filter searches and get clear on what things are. We use Salesforce to have, we're talking to probably 1,500 companies in an ongoing way. Salesforce helps us organize that. And then just presence, establishing thought leadership in the field. So one of the hardest things I think for people that want to grow is it feels overwhelming to do it all. And I didn't want to do any of the social media. So I just waited for that inner call to what do I want to do? Oh, I can post an article once in a while. Okay, whatever. I did that for a year or two because I wanted to be somebody in the space that I'm now in. And you just start to step into that space to what feels comfortable. Don't push yourself to do a million social media platforms. Eventually, 15 years later, now we have all the social media platforms, and I have a social media guy that does it. But if I would have thought in the beginning I need to have all these platforms, it would have been overwhelming. So I picked LinkedIn because it's, I think,
Got
the spot to be professional. And so it's been really great to us. Yeah. Yeah, we
I
don't
love
do
it.
any cold calling or anything like that.
So it's cold DMs on LinkedIn, essentially just outreach. Do you find that's a consistent form of generating business for you guys, or is it up and down?
A lot of those people sign up for our events and things as well, and then they get moved over to our email list. And
Got it.
so we've got a MailChimp email list. We really have four sort of outlets where we like
Push.
announce things. Yeah, we've got the MailChimp. We've got two LinkedIn newsletters. We have now Mindset Social, and across all our social media, we have about 150,000 reach. So we're not huge, but substantial enough that we have a little market space, market share space. But yeah, it's been good so far.
Yeah, I love it. What does the sales process look like? So once a lead does come in, what are the steps they go through to become a client for the services, the coaching consulting services specifically?
It depends. If it's an individual, just a meet and greet call and then follow-up email and that sort of thing, it's really very basic. Any individual solopreneur coach can do that. If it's a larger enterprise-like client, then we go through a three-call sales cycle. We do a discovery, a solutions, and then a proposal call. Pretty standard in the industry. Discovery calls just asking questions, just trying to
Yep.
learn about the situation.
Yep.
Solutions call is, oh, now that I know the situation, here's our services that might be useful. And
Got
then the proposal call is, oh, which of those services do you want in a proposal with prices on them?
it. Yeah.
And so very basic, very, and I don't come from a sales background. I've had good team members who have spent 5 decades in sales say this is just the form. And so, yeah, we found that very effective.
Got it. So you don't run the sales. There's team members in place that do
It
that.
de it depends. It depends on where things are at and how involved I want to be in the conversation, whether I have a personal relationship to the contact, which is
Got
often
it.
the case. And then that's the hardest thing. The hardest thing is providing value, showing value, having relationship, and then saying, oh, we want to move forward on this.
Yeah. Cool. What does your vision look like? So if you think over the next 12 months, what would be your top priorities for the company?
I really want to see MindDev do well. I have a director of coaching in Boulder. She's helped push it. And I'd like to see that do well on the service front. So that's a top priority. Always wanting to grow Mindset Social, but that sort of has just a normal trickle in. We're at 550 users in our first couple months. So see that reach a couple thousand in the next year and then 10,000 the next year maybe. And trips are fun. Yeah, yeah. I just want to go to beautiful places and be with interesting people and connect and support and
Yeah.
hang out in paradise. We're doing our first one again to just outside of Phoenix at a beautiful resort spa and
Awesome.
want to convince other people to have us.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting. I'm curious, when it comes to growing MindDev, what do you feel are the biggest challenges you're facing right now as the founder?
Marketing is so hard with something new. When you
Yeah,
create something new that nobody knows what the heck it is, you can explain around it. Oh, it's like this, like this. It's like telling somebody what an orange tastes like if they've never eaten an orange. How do you do
yeah,
that? You got to
yeah,
say, just take a bite of it, and then we'll have a conversation around what your experience was. And that's the most challenging thing. And we know we're about 6 months deep on that. We know it's probably a minimum of 18 months, and you just got to hold space for something and believe in it.
yeah. That's the biggest thing is just keeping that consistency and consistently working on something over time. If you could time travel and you could go back to your younger self and talk to yourself before you started the company and give yourself a piece of advice that you wish you knew at that time, that you know now. Now, I understand that regret isn't a resourceful state to be in. And sometimes even like just that thought isn't super helpful. But the reason I say that is because let's say somebody's starting in 2025. What would that thing be that you would tell them that you wish you knew when you were first starting your company?
First off is you can do it. You can do whatever you want. Doesn't matter how crazy your vision is. If you
Mm,
believe in it, it's a reality to you and go for it. So that's number one. Number two would be get an MBA, get a business degree just so you're thinking like that. And if that's too expensive, then just piece together your own business learning. Just take an MBA program off of Harvard's website and then go look for those things for free elsewhere. And there's lots of open source classes that are free. Like just build out that way of thinking. Doesn't mean that you have to be obsessed about money. You can still be like move from a good place and support humanity, but that way of thinking is really important.
yeah,
And yeah, just know yourself. Like knowing yourself is really essential. That's why mindful and mindfulness have been become my brand is because I want to be valued for what I am, not what I can necessarily do. And I
yeah,
think that's all of us. We all want to be valued for the person we are and to show up fully as that and have it work out. We don't want to have to pretend to be somebody to be valued. And so
yeah.
many people are in that position. So you don't have to do that.
I like that. What's the best way for people to reach you?
We're all over social media. Our root website is mindfullifemindfulwork.com. Join Mindset Social, mindset-social.com. On LinkedIn, I can't accept any more connections because I'm at the max. LinkedIn max is at 30,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a good problem to have.
Yep.
And yeah, don't be a stranger. Let's go deeper than appearances. That's one of the things that I've really provided, I think, in my career is to be a safe space for everyone.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So that wraps up another insightful episode of Founders Future. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your journey, sharing your insights with us today. To our listeners, if you're inspired by today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're looking to scale your business and enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.